Well, if you got a dollar, won't just lousy down. You know that I got rhythm that could suit your budget fine.
Hey, this is Patrick with Trusty Mercantile on location at the Village Theater Guild in Glen Ellyn, Illinois, where we are in final preparations for Arsenic and Old Lace that opens April 29th. And if you've been following my channel, you know that I am actually involved with this production. Initially involved with set decoration, set dressing, and with props. And then due to an injury in the cast, I was also brought in much later in the process, and I'm actually in the show. And I'm still doing props and set dressing. So I've got a lot on my plate, but I'm having a blast, and I want to kind of show you around and show you what Village Theater Guild has to offer. So Village Theater Guild takes place in the Village Theater, which was built in 1917 as what was referred to as a two-room schoolhouse. I don't actually know what a two-room schoolhouse was. And the inside has been moved around so much that it's kind of hard to find the actual school. But I will be taking you inside. But this is the front. It faces what would have been the main street probably at the time, Park Boulevard here in Glen Ellyn. There's a great story involving community theater and the ownership of this building. The school, again, was built in 1917. It was on a single plot of land, which included this building here at the corner of a fairly major intersection. And it was, at some point, was purchased by an oil company to build a gas station at the corner. And for whatever reason, they never ended up building it, but they were allowing the Theater Guild to rent the building for like a nominal fee. It was either $1 a month or $1 a year, you know, so that they had access to it. And there was a clause in the rent that if they ever chose to sell the building, the Village Theater Guild would have a chance to buy it. And so they did. So they bought the land that the school was on, as well as the vacant lot next door. And in the 80s, the company that built this office building approached them saying they wanted the land because it was valuable land at the intersection. And so the Theater Guild sold the building, or sold the lot. And what they made on this sale of that property paid off the mortgage on the original purchase. So since the 80s, the Village Theater Guild has owned its property outright, which has been a great godsend during COVID because they had less significant overhead. So I'm walking around the outside of the building because, as you notice in the front, that has stairs. So for a theater that has accessibility issues, they moved the theater entrance, here's a little sign there, effectively to the back. So there's a little ticket booth where you can buy tickets. During COVID, they put in this patio area where they hope to do some like al fresco refreshments or things during intermission. They built this shed, which was desperately needed because as we go inside, you'll see there's not a lot of storage space. They've done a lot to utilize this very small building. Their phrase is intimate space, infinite possibilities. So you can see there's kind of this little wing that sticks out. There's a door there. That door is actually the light booth and the sound booth for the theater. You can access it from inside until the seats are set up. So then after that, you have to access it from outside the building, including in the rain. So it's an interesting process. Spring is here, but we haven't quite gotten ready to refill the planters or anything, but there will be. At this point, CDC guidelines, we are still requesting people to wear their mask within the theater, but the actors will not be wearing masks on stage. But it's a very intimate space, and so you can see why we're asking the audience to wear masks, because here's the front row of the audience, and here's the stage. Let me show you that again. Front row of the audience, the stage. So the actors are going to be very close to the audience. They do squeeze, I think it's 55 seats, sometimes up to 60 into this space. You can see there's a little ladder there that folds out of the wall. That's the sound booth that you can see from outside. But once those seats are in place, you're not going to be able to get into the booth. So that's why there's the outside. It's considered a black box theater black-ish in the sense that all the walls are black box, but they do typically do sets of some sort. And this is the set that I've been involved with. So I'm going to clear things up a little bit and give you an up close and personal tour of the set and then the rest of the building. So the set is not completely done, although it's more done than it was when I finished that last clip. If you're familiar with the show Arsenic and Old Lace, it pretty much does take place all on one set. Not quite in real time, but it takes place basically less than 24 hours. So it's nice for a small theater because you don't have a lot of changing of sets and things like that. So what we ended up doing is, so again, this is I guess would be considered a 2-room schoolhouse. So let me go ahead and kind of pop to backstage really quick. So if you look there, that is the door that I had shown from the front of the theater. So I kind of came in from the back. So you consider that's where you would have come in to the original schoolhouse. I'm assuming the staircase is original, but what we think is original is this wall right here because it runs the length of the building. So this possibly would have been one room here, and then maybe there was something else over there. There are a couple of rooms I'll show you. So I'm not 100% sure the blueprints of the building, but when they used it for the theater, they turned this entire space into the performance area. So what you get with a performance area is this wall, and whether they're original or not, I don't know, but there is a door here. Normally these stairs are not here. These stairs were built for the show. So there's a door there. That's access to a washroom for the public to use. This door frame here is always there. It doesn't always have a door in it, but that opening is there. This opening is here. And then the window, there's another opening there. It's got a curtain on it right now. So anytime you do a show here, you have 4 openings that you have to deal with, whether you turn them into doorways, you turn them into, you block them off, turn them into bookcases, whatever the case. So for the Arsenic and Old Lace, the set that's required is, there's a lot of references that go in and out of the kitchen. So there's a kitchen floor, and this is propped open because we were painting today. So this is actually a swinging door that goes, swings in both directions. So we've got the kitchen there. Also an important door for the show is the cellar door. So we installed a door case there, put the crystal doorknobs on there. So we felt that was period. We then had to build the front door so that the actors can get in and out, not really practical to use the opening. So we created the doorway, and then also critical is the window seat and the exterior windows. So all of those were manufactured specifically for this production. I did the stained glass, bought a set of window clings, and the style of the set, there's one reference to the home that is one of the oldest homes in Brooklyn. Brooklyn was founded in the 1860s, so by definition, this puts it into the Victorian era. And it just so happened that the theater had this sofa. It's perfect size, it's small because it is a small set. It's an East Lake style, so we have an East Lake style Victorian home. So that's where the stained glass design comes from, East Lake design. Getting a little pushback. Some people feel that the window colors are too bright, that's a 70s thing. Well, guess what, folks? The 70s did not invent color. So the most famous example of an East Lake stick style Victorian home is actually the house from Charmed. And if you look at that, you will see those colored accents that just go around the edges. So that's what we created, found a Victorian style sideboard, probably a little bit later, maybe 1890s. And that is actually on loan to us from one of my favorite thrift stores, Thrift and Dollar in Aurora, Illinois. They are letting us borrow this for free. We gave them an ad in the program. So it's a great piece that allows for decoration. You know, the show, there's some work with wine glasses and wine. So it's nice to have all of that on display without having big, like a china cabinet with doors that would reflect glass. The corner cabinet, something that the theater has, so we actually mounted that into the corner. What is not here yet, because we hadn't quite finished construction, if you've seen one of my older videos, you will recognize this. This is from my personal collection. This is a watercolor that is dated 1909. I have that vase. So the vase that the watercolor is done of, I actually have the vase as well. So the vase is going to sit up on the top of the corner cabinet and have the watercolor next to it. 90% of the audience will have no idea that they're related, but I will, and that's what it's all about. So we had to install curtains, reference to curtain cords, that becomes a prop. So I'm trying to walk the line between props, set dressing, and then also being in the show. And so actually the cords are actually one of my props. So it's in my best interest to make those as user-friendly as possible. Most of it though is just set dressing. It's just for decor. We found a table, which I really liked, not quite Victorian, a little bit later than that, but we needed a smaller size scale. So this is actually a games table. So when it's not in use, the top flips over and goes up against a wall. And so I'm gonna keep that. I found the chairs at Thrift and Dollar for $5 a piece. So they were one of the best purchases for this show. So we've got the nice wood style there. The set designer is Debbie Gitz Joseph. And she and I, she was kind enough to include me in some of the discussions. And we came up with the approach, the color. The colors are actually coming also out of this rug, which is also mine. It had been rolled up in the garage. So we're using the rug. So the green is coming out of the rug, the burgundy. That is all working. The portrait of Grandpa Brewster that is on loan from another theater company. Trying to think what else we're using here. I added the porcelain vase. That'll also go back into my personal collection. These vases are inexpensive style vases because they were used for a production where they were being broken. So they had like a dozen of them. So I pulled out 2 and put them there. And we've got the window seat, which had to be made. And if you know the show, there's Mr. Spinalzo in the window seat. So, that's enough showing of the show. A few things still to be done. I have to finish sewing the drapes because those have to be opening and closing. Gotta put the rest of the food on. Little stage trick. The milk in the creamer is actually Elmer's glue. So waiting for that to solidify. And the sugar cubes are actually little cut up pieces of styrofoam. So none of that will go bad and won't attract bugs. The food will actually be edible because they do need to eat it on stage. Okay, so I think that's it. And now I will go take you through the cellar door and go through the rest of the theater. So as I kind of showed you before, that is the front entrance. You can kind of look out at, you can see the monument sign where I was standing. So there's the stairs to come up. I don't think we technically qualify as ADA compliant because we do have the age allowance, but we have, by moving the entrance to the back, there are no stairs. So that's one benefit. So there is a washroom here on the main level so that we try and be as accommodating as we can. And at some point, that might have to change. But so that's why the back door is the primary entrance for the theater. So then this is the staircase that does go into the lower level. Now, it's a fairly open staircase. I mean, hopefully you can kind of see this. You can actually see down it. So that's the other question was there classrooms down here? There are no windows down here, so I'm not actually sure that would have been allowed. There is an exit there, which goes up like the old-fashioned cellar steps. Another second washroom down here for overflow. All the utility stuff is in there. This ends up being, for this production, this is all going to be for the cast because this is a fairly large cast for a stage of this size. There's 13 people in the cast. So that wall that holds all the clothes is on wheels, as is that wall. So those two can pivot into position and actually line up right here. So you can kind of see where the hinge is on the door. So if that gets closed, this becomes the dressing area if it's a smaller cast. And then this, you can see there's a little bar area over there. They actually have refreshments and things during intermission. Because of COVID, we're not doing refreshments anyway. So we just opened up the walls and made this all for the theater. So a little background. This is, behind the scenes. These are the costumes. So you've got all of the characters have their name on the rod, so you know everyone keep track of their clothes. I am playing Einstein. And Einstein is kind of on the run from the law and doesn't particularly care how he looks. So all of my clothes are in a bag. The costumer keeps wanting to press them. Like, stop it. We don't press Einstein's clothes. So mine just sit in a bag. Makeup stations and extra mirrors. There's a little kitchen down here. So we can get refreshments for the actors, can have refreshments while we're down here. But it's a functional kitchen, slop sink for the paint, things like that. So that's all down here. So how much of this would have been part of the, would have been used for the original schoolhouse? No one's really sure. I did contact the Glen Ellyn Historical Society. They had a flood right before COVID, and so they're really they're not functioning right now. So I never heard back from anybody. So unfortunately, we only have kind of hearsay from some of the original members or people that knew the original members. So those are some of the stories that I heard, but it's a nice big downstairs space. And space is a premium, in any location when you have basically a tiny home. So we're going to wrap this up, and I will just say I look horrible because I am exhausted. It's too much. It's really too much for even one person to be doing both props and set dressing. It's ridiculous for me to also be in the show. So everyone's been great helping me out, but I did commit to the first two. And I just happened to be available and I wanted to help out my friends at the theater and filled in for the role. And I'm actually having a great time doing the role. So this has been a great experience. I had no idea how much I missed theater until I started doing this. So I'm really happy to be back. And yeah, I'm a little stressed and I definitely am getting a little grumpy sometimes, but I wouldn't have it any other way because I'm absolutely having a blast. So I hope you enjoyed the video, see a little bit of backstage. If you happen to be in the Chicago area, we open April 29th and in the Village Theater Guild in Glen Ellyn, Illinois, and we run through May 21st. So we do 4 weekends of performances. And if you're in the area, love to hear you come by. And keep in mind, it only seats about 55 people, so we already have a couple shows sold out, so get your tickets soon. Thanks so much for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for putting your trust in Trusty Huckster. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Well, show me a sign if you're wishing me to stay. Otherwise, I say goodbye, finish out the day. And that sunrise in the morning and you got nothing to say. Oh, that's when I'll be headed on my way.